the infamous Murph's Pub. I'm Jeremy Taylor, and welcome to this week's Wednesday Night Undressed. Yes, the podcast that reaches into the wobbly places other podcasts daren't venture. They daren't. We don't claim to look at things scientifically, but we definitely have all the answers to your mysteries, vegetable, animal, and mineral. We know the kings and queens of England and questions most political. In short, we can explain matters mathematical, physical, and medical. We are the only naked podcast you can undress to on a Wednesday night whilst wallowing in your bath. And let me introduce tonight's panel. Of course, me, Jullian, Fernando's here, Meredith's with us, Cassidy, Kathleen, Chris is with us, Lewis, and of course, direct from Transylvania, it was going to be Dracula, but we couldn't get him, so we're having Ivo.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
So,
Really good evil.
Wow.
that is, yeah, that is
that's
his
very
evil.
impressive.
I like
Wow,
it.
There, I
yes.
mean,
You do that on
Yes.
Halloween and nobody will come to your house. You'll have all that candy for yourself.
So let's start with something easy. It's a question from the UK. That is the person who gets really up your noses when you go and see a film in the cinema and they haven't turned their phone off. If you had a personal mascot, what would it be? Let's start with Cassidy. Get her out of the way.
I want a ferret
a ferret.
to be my mascot.
is it because they steal?
Any
Yes.
particular reason you want a ferret?
I like ferrets.
Okay, that's a good reason.
That's
fair
really
enough.
thoughtful.
They're cute.
Yeah.
Appreciate
They're
how you put some real
lovely.
energy into
They're
that.
meat eaters. Relatable. And yeah,
And they climb up your legs.
not relatable, but yes.
It's true. They do. Okay, so Chris, what about you? If you had a mascot, what would it be?
It'd have to be a cat.
Pussycat.
Ew.
Yep, kitty cat.
Kitty cat.
That's lame.
No, it's
yeah,
not.
I think it's a bit. Can we do a bit more? You know, is it a ginger tom? What? You know,
Doesn't really matter.
Siamese?
I mean, any kind of cat, really. I mean, if you wanted to go tiger, jaguar, that'd be fine. But
Jaguar.
Jaguar.
jaguar,
Jaguar.
mountain lion, cougar.
Cougar sounds nice.
You're a cougar.
I could be.
Watch out, ladies.
He's being naughty today, isn't he?
Isn't that young man that should have to watch out for cougars?
What about Meredith? What would be your mascot?
A lioness.
A lioness.
Yes.
Good choice.
Would you like a real lioness?
You asked for a mascot. You didn't
Yeah.
ask me whether or not I was ready to put something in a cage in my house.
Well, I'm thinking, you know, I can see you walking down the street with a lioness on a leash.
I mean, I get that
I think
probably
that
a
would
lot
be
of people
cool.
feel like I am the lioness on a leash walking down the street. But yeah, sure, that too.
Who's holding the leash?
I
We're going down a
am
rabbit
the
hole
lioness.
here, you know. Yes. So no leash. Just
There you go.
Just follows along behind. A sort of Dior leash or something.
That sounds good. I'll take Dior.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I prefer Fendi, but that's fine.
All
We'll
right,
take Dior.
Fendi. Okay, yeah. Fernando, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, hello. Sorry to wake you. I just wondered if you wanted to have a mascot, what would it be?
Well, could be it gotta be something weird. So maybe Blob was
A blob.
yeah, it's a big
Mr.
gooey from I think Monsters vs Aliens cartoon. But he leave tracks and all that jello crappiness. He doesn't have a motion to jump and
Just look out for
do
Steve McQueen.
tricks and mess all the field. I imagine Blob could be maybe a dragon too.
Has anybody ever seen a TV show called The Prisoner from the UK?
Yes.
Yes, I
Oh,
have.
yeah.
It
That's
rocks.
It was a blob in that.
That's but the blob
That's
from
more
the
of a bubble
prisoner,
than a blob.
it's too perfect, too perfect. That blob you can even pass through and all that gooey go through but yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, from the prisoner, that works.
Mr. Jullian.
I would probably have a shoebill stork because
Whoa. What?
Who to what?
it's called a shoebill stork and it has a really big
Shoe bill. Right.
it's like a tree trunk for a beak or whatever, or a bill, and they literally kill crocodiles.
It's a dinosaur-looking thing.
It
It's-
is
nice.
It is a menace of birds, and they're so scary. But the thing is, they respect humans, which makes it worse because you could walk up to one and they wouldn't mess with you. But you just have to live with the knowing that if they wanted to, you could be dead.
It's a
Shoebill stork.
stork, not a stork.
It's like
It's very
6'3".
difficult with the American, because we have lots of people listening all over the world. So I have to sort of enunciate, dear. So a stork.
Where
Yeah,
can
well-
can we find those?
Where can we find a
Apparently,
shoebill
where you can
stork?
find an alligator, from what you just said.
I'm forgetting. I'm pretty sure Brazil.
Really? Can we have a bet if we respect? Like probably we
I
can.
know there's a zoo where there's one where it'll like if you bow it'll bow back, but I don't know.
Well, let's try. Okay.
All right, Kathleen.
I think I might.
Sorry to interrupt your supper.
Yes or no? If I can just swallow this. I think that
The
I would
bishop
have to
said- no, it
choose.
would have been the
All right.
Sorry.
I think I would have to choose something that gets away from people and sleeps a lot, like a bear.
What kind of bear?
Yes,
Bear
what kind
that
of bear?
hibernates. Any kind of bear.
Every bear
A
hides.
grizzle bear,
Right. So,
white bear.
yeah, as long as they could have a
Panda.
stack of books and a light back in
Black.
the cave, then
So an
That would be-
educated
Did you-
bear.
Don't
did
forget
you
your
see
picnic
that
basket.
I think a bear
YouTube
that,
of a-
that
of
would
a-
reflect me by going away and just ignoring people for a long time. That's a really good, tempting thing
There's
to
a
do.
lovely bit of YouTube of a black bear attacking a jiu-jitsu cliff climber.
What? What's
Yes,
a
it's
jujitsu
black-
cliff when it's at home?
Well, he's the
They
guy.
fight the
He's a
cliff.
guy climbing up a cliff, right?
Yeah.
Rock climber.
Yeah.
But he also, in his part time, he's a jiu-jitsu expert, right?
Okay.
So this black bear decided to take him on,
Mm-hmm.
which was a really bad idea if you were the black bear,
Right. Really?
because this guy kept kicking him in the nose, right? And the bear kept coming, and he kept kicking him in the nose. Eventually, the bear tumbled all the way down the cliff. It was quite funny, actually. Lewis, we'll come back to Julian in just a minute.
So I apparently misunderstood the assignment. So
Shocker.
I
Yeah.
thought we were picking characters for a mascot, not just an animal.
Okay, that's true.
So,
it can be
Oh
anything.
yeah, it
you
could
like.
be anything.
Okay, so I
Could it be-
picked a animal character. I picked Brother Anansi, the trickster spider.
Brother, what?
Brother Anansi, the trickster spider.
As if everybody's heard of this.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because he's a trickster god. He's like a African, like one of the tricksters that the African polytheistic peoples pray to as their god.
Why would you choose as a mascot something you would be forced to pray to? It's supposed to be
I don't
your.
think
Why would you choose a spider?
I don't think you're getting it. That's the whole point.
I see.
Kath,
Okay.
Kath is over here breaking down the psychology of this answer.
So here's the rationale. Like for me, I feel like the trickster is like the perfect mascot for me because tricksters define the reality around them. Like rules don't exist. Like physical laws don't exist until the trickster comes up with something that like is usually so atrocious that like reality has to fight back and put rules into place. And then once reality is all set up, like the trickster becomes like Loki in the Marvel movies, where he's just kind of an entertaining entity to watch. Like they're funny. They actually become completely unsuccessful in almost everything that they try, but their stories are always like illuminative for some kind of like larger life lesson, and so that feels a lot like me.
He's using words that have 5 syllables again.
This has been your daily
Illuminative.
dose of overanalysis brought to you by Lewis.
Evo,
Like I said, I think I misunderstood the assignment.
what would be your mascot if you
That's
had
why I
one,
picked a
or if
cat.
you wanted to have one?
With me, it's easy because I'm since I can remember, my nickname back home was Sokol. Louis can testify to this. Everybody calls me
Oh,
Sokol.
well, hence your name on Twitter or something.
Yeah. That's right. My
Sokol.
email, Sokol. Yeah, Sokol is in Bulgarian. That's falcon. And this started like way back when I was a teenager, because it's a very long story. But there was a group of close knit friends that were all playing basketball and drinking industrial amounts of alcohol and listening to rock and roll, and all of that rhymed with Sokol. So we started calling myself. People started calling me Sokol because of all of that, and my friend Sokol. So Falcon
Friends who
would
drank
be.
alcohol? I'm shocked.
Yes, there were only two of them. But that basically became my nickname. So that's an obvious choice. That being said, my son, obviously he's not with us, but he would probably pick the capybara. We've talked about the capybara. I was surprised that Fernando didn't pick capybara because that's an incredibly adorable rodent, the biggest rodent on earth, that is just adorable and cute and friendly. It's the most social animal of all. All the other animals are attracted to it. It's like protective and kind and playful, and it is indigenous to Brazil. So I was really thinking, dude, Fernando's gonna go for it. Emil, my son, when he was younger, he wanted to have one so bad, that he was really crying, asking me, please, I want, this is my dream pet. So I actually went and tried to get one. And it just so happened that they were only legal in Texas and New York.
And
And
Wuhan.
Two states with a lot of
Them
crazy
other
people.
places, You just need a license.
All that
Really?
now.
I'm
All
pretty
of it
sure.
now.
darn it, they were
All
just,
that now.
and I didn't know that, and I tried, but apparently I couldn't get one. So that's one. And then I also wanted to mention mascots are only, they're a thing in America. They're not a thing anywhere else in the world, except during the Olympics, where Olympics have a mascot. But there are no mascots for sports teams in Europe or anywhere else.
They
There's
haven't
no.
got any big flappy Jayhawks.
No, they don't have. They have other big flappy things, but no Jayhawks. And then
There
you
are-
know, and then I was thinking about what is the worst possible mascot that I've seen. We were with Emil, Alina, and Jamie. We traveled to California. No, it was just me, Jamie, and Emil. We traveled to Northern California. We ended up going on a trip to Santa Cruz. And we've discovered the stupid mascot for University of Santa Cruz is a banana slug.
Oh my
No, it's the banana slug, which is a disgusting. It's disgusting freaking slug is their mascot. It's the most horrible thing you can imagine. And then also, I'm very close friend with the head volleyball coach at Oregon State, who are the Beavers, believe it or not. The Beavers, and then of course there's South Carolina, whose mascot is Cocky, the Gamecock. You know, so it's always a lot of
What's
fun.
the mascot for the Huskers?
It is a redneck. It's a freaking redneck.
The
Have
guy
you
who
seen it?
husks
It is a
corn.
redneck with a 5 o'clock shade. It's freaking disgusting. But Gamecocks and Beavers, when they play each other, it's a lot of fun.
There are mascots in Europe. I mean, Tottenham Hotspur has its cock. The Manchester United has the Red Devils. There's the Leicester City Wolves. There's Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, I've never seen those. I've
People
never
said you don't know
seen-
about them, so it don't
you've
count.
You've never seen the Manchester United mascot running around the stands? I've seen that
No,
before.
I haven't. Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
That's
Well,
that's
that's
something
interesting.
recent
I think I'm
Yeah.
going to give Julian 10 points
for not saying anything.
for a shoebill stalk the alligators, and I'm going to give Lewis 0 points for something that nobody has the faintest idea what he's talking about.
This feels
Brother
just
Anunzi.
like law school.
Amnesty Brother.
Jeremy, who was your mascot?
Who's my mascot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh. Pooh Bear.
Oh,
You've met Pooh Bear. Pooh
Pooh
Bear.
Bear
No,
is
no,
a
no. But
solid
Pooh
choice.
Bear is like lovable. We need a mascot for you.
Dude, Pooh Bear is a solid choice. Don't hate.
Well, poor
It's
old Pooh.
aspirational mascot. Okay, it's an
Jeremy
aspirational.
is lovable, believe me.
I can be.
I doubt it.
Well, you come in my shed, big boy.
Oh my God, we're gonna end up having to bleep this freaking episode.
I beg your pardon. How's that go? It's an old English saying. You want English sayings? Morning, ladies, said the blind man as he walked past the fish shop. Anyway,
Oh dear.
well, it's what you get with tomato sauce. Sure. Yes. Julian, you've been waving at me.
Okay, so, Kat, do you mean a polar bear or an albino bear?
She said any kind of bear
Any
that
kind of
sleeps.
bear.
No, you said. Didn't you say a white bear?
No, she said
Oh.
bear.
No.
Okay, well,
No.
don't pick. Well, I would correct you and say anything but a polar bear.
Oh really?
Whoa,
Polar
bro,
bears
whoa,
don't-
bro. Why are we hating on polar bears?
I love
That's
Hey,
like my,
hey,
that's
so-
like my
so-
number
so-
one favorite animal.
Same.
Imagine you're a polar bear. You're on the ice. You take a nap, and then 20 minutes later, you're floating away from your home. What are you doing?
Polar bears can swim, so like they're fine.
Yeah, but then there's things
Like,
like
they can swim
orcas.
really well.
There's things like orcas out there.
Okay,
Why is
Jeremy, the next time that Julian waves at you, please ignore it.
No, well, the thing is, Julian, that I need to cure you of this. A polar bear walked into a bar, right, up north.
no.
Walks into a bar,
No.
and he walks up to the bar, and the whole place goes quiet, because polar bears are 18 feet tall. And he walks up to the bar, and he says, round of drinks for everybody in the bar. So the barman's shaking, but he does what he's asked to do. Pay attention, Julian. You asked for this. Right? Okay.
And you're
And
And
subjecting
so the
residents
barman
to it.
is standing right up against the drinks, not anywhere near the bar, and he says to the polar bear, he says, what would you like to drink, sir? And the polar bear goes, well,
Come on.
I'll have a beer.
All right.
And the barman says to him, well, okay, that was easy. What was with big paws? He said, oh, these. I've always had these.
Showing.
Thanks a lot, Julian.
Right.
All because of your
Pause.
hyper analysis of the bear. We had to go down that road.
Yeah.
Enough.
Very punny.
No.
Listen, Julian, are the polar bears indigenous to the North Pole or the South Pole? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure they're in both, aren't they?
They're bipolar bears.
Oh, dear God. What is the next topic, y'all?
Because we can't bear
Moving
these jokes.
on.
Okay, if and when you are on death row, what last meal will you ask for?
Just
Julian.
On death row, my last meal is going to be exactly 83 strawberries. But for no particular reason, other than the fact that people will question why 83, in the hopes that if I'm on death row, I've done something so bad to get onto death row, I'm going to drive somebody insane by using 83. But okay, so let's say I'm a murderer on death row, right? Throughout my whole entire career as a murderer, I'm going to leave the number 83, like hints at the number 83, like complicated math formulas. And once I get there, I'm going to do 83 strawberries so that somebody who spent their whole life being like, what does the 83 mean? They realize I have foreseen everything and driven them insane
If it's out of
slowly.
season, it
Lewis.
might buy you a month
Julie.
or so.
I love it.
Lewis.
I love it.
Julie,
Yes.
we're gonna have to have a talk on the way home.
I mean, bro. Is he riding in a separate car on the way back?
83,
Warning about his plans for his
83.
life.
Lewis.
All right, so I gave this a lot of thought, probably too much thought, just like the brother Anansi answer.
What about 50
But
seconds?
I don't know that I would ask for a last meal because I'm not a foodie. So like it's not that big a deal to me what I eat. However, I consume a lot of pop culture. So I would want a last movie. Like I would want to go see The Matrix one more time in the movie theater, in an IMAX theater, with me sitting in like the center seat so that the sound all like is directed directly at me for my last request. Now I'd probably have like popcorn and M&Ms and Coke while I was there.
You'd
so
also
that-
have the warden telling you, fuck no, you're not getting that. But yeah, that too.
Well, if we're gonna dream, like why not dream big?
Hypothetically.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
All right, Fernando. Hello.
Well, I like just something obnoxious too, because I think it, like sometimes, like I mean, there is not a single meal or something that I can classify as the best. Some days could be spaghetti, would be the best, a great meal, or something more fancy in style. But anyway, I would go Brazilian grill just because of the hassle. They need to have all kinds of cuts of meat. For the hassle to prepare, like so be tons of the skewer. You're gonna have a lot of people to service and infrastructure,
that takes like a month to make.
and maybe they will take out this thing as out of the death row, and they say, oh, that's too much. It's very costly.
I love how you're using it as a bargaining tool to get off death row.
No, they would have taken the last wish away.
They had to do that in some place. 'cause
83.
Some guy ordered like a lot of food.
83
Like,
dishes.
a lot of food, and then he just didn't eat it. So then they had to just stop giving it all together.
Yeah, they probably
So
have
I
a...
hardly dare ask Cassidy what would be your, if you find yourself, when you find yourself on death row.
What? What is with the win? what is with the win?
When?
Now, me personally,
After you've killed your mother.
I could never. What?
I guarantee it's gonna be the other way around, but okay.
See,
I'd
I feel
like to
like
see
I
that
would get
fight.
killed first, but that's not the point. Anyway, so there was really no limitations on this. So I'm thinking like lobster, sushi, shrimp, things like that. Giant Caesar salad because I love Caesar salads. Salmon, all types of salmon.
Wow, you love seafood.
I
You have
do.
no idea.
I really do. It's my favorite. And like a bunch of Chinese food, like wonton. No, egg drop soup. I hate wonton soup. So
Do you think if you're getting electrocuted, your stomach would like pop?
hopefully,
Oh,
Wow.
Meredith,
Wow.
what would you...
Before we go to what I would eat, can I just ask you, can you please take this child to therapy? Please, Lou.
He's a young boy. This is the kind of stuff that goes on in their
that's
heads.
what's
I
wrong
mean,
with so many men. But okay.
12-year-old.
that's why we need a little bit more.
Meredith refused to
Yes.
answer.
No,
So
I'm
let's
not
go with Chris.
refusing. I require. I just had to take a side note that Julian is probably the when part of this question. But no, I would go similar to her. I love seafood, but I have to have my last steak as well. So I'm gonna have a little surf and turf for my
Any
final
particular
meal.
type of steak?
A big, juicy, medium rare. It needs to be mooing at me. Like I want it
Medium rare.
mooing.
Oh.
And
At
what
me.
sort of steak?
The good one.
Why don't
Good
you just
one.
get that like raw
The
steak?
good
thing?
one. It's
Okay.
prison, so it's not like I'm gonna get the fanciest cut.
True. True. Chris.
I originally kind of was like Fernando. I thought, let's find some really rare, obscure recipe that, take forever to find and fix. But then I kind of was on, like Lewis, I don't really know what I would want at that point, but I think what I really would like to do is be able to cook it myself. And so just kind of go with whatever my whim was at that point. But,
They're never going to let you
Wait,
have
I
sharp
know,
implements.
that
right?
way
so
I'd-
you're gonna go to the warden and be like, "Can I get a knife and a frying pan?"
Well, they can have a bunch of guys with guns standing around me in the kitchen while I make it, But I would definitely would want something that I made so that I knew that I was getting exactly what it is that I wanted.
Nice.
Ivo.
I'll go with roasted dodo, and I will be alive forever. I will never be.
No, they're gonna
put
thaw
to
one out
death.
just for you.
Right.
They will not find a dodo. Yeah.
Well, they'll give you a chicken and say, prove it's not.
Right. Exactly.
Mr. Taylor, what would be your final meal?
Sausages.
Did
Saturday
say
that
People
sausages?
stuff.
I did it.
savage?
Trust me, if you were in prison on death row, you've had plenty of sausage at that point.
What kind?
Yeah. English sausages. I haven't finished. Mashed potatoes.
Oh my god.
Thick brown gravy. Onions. More sausages.
Like a whole
Basically,
onion.
bangers and mash. Is what
Bangers
you're
and
saying.
mash, yeah.
Like a whole onion.
So-
Like you can just go.
Bangers and mash.
Cooked.
Yeah. So you're saying
You're
you will die before the death sentence.
And we don't have the death sentence in Great Britain because we're civilized.
Civilized.
Unlike some places. And here they can't get English sausages.
Oh, they probably.
Aha.
Kathleen, what would you...
Well, I've been keto for a while, so my last meal would definitely include a loaded baked potato, fairly rare steak, and the salad that only Jeremy puts together. He does a special salad of melon, generally honeydew melon, just ripe enough, and scallops and shrimp and mayo and a special sauce that he creates.
It sounds disgusting, but
grapes.
it's delicious.
It's good.
It
Yeah,
is-
because I'm so sitting over here
it
like
is.
that's okay.
No,
It
it's a
sounds
really-
horrible,
it's a really
but
good
it's so
salad.
freaking
I feel like maybe
good.
we peaked at chocolate biscuit cake.
It is no, it is so good. It is
Yeah.
shockingly good.
The
Yeah.
trouble is
That-
that if I do my starter and a chocolate biscuit cake and something in the middle, everybody wants to start having sex. And that's just really bad news. Okay, so points again. I'm going to give Julian 10 points
Yes.
for having 83 things for
83.
his final meal. And Lewis, I'm giving
83.
0 points because he didn't do food, he did a film. And
I agree with
feels
that.
very
question
much
was
like law school.
specifically-
Yeah, but I second him on that, bro. You tried for the Matrix, so you're not
Yeah,
getting that.
Just trying
the
to be
Matrix,
different
there was
today.
no food in the Matrix, and it wouldn't have been real anyway.
Exactly, because your mind is just telling you it's steak,
So,
bro.
I can tell you that Julian is in the lead with 20 points, not 83.
There were
And
cookies in the
Lewis
Matrix.
is in at the end with 0 points.
Is this point thing something we started while I was out on vacay?
No,
Yes,
this
we
is brand new
did.
today.
Good
Okay.
idea.
Guys, I have a better one. So I was watching YouTube, and somebody
But you're
posed
all
to me.
dead. You're dead now.
Somebody
Julian.
posed to me the best idea, which is 5 crumble cookies because they're each packed with like a stick and a half of butter, and
You're
I would
gonna
eat
die.
all of them, have a heart attack, so that I could go out before they get me.
So
Because
you-
I'm that
so
petty.
I want to have hen house sushi
So that-
specifically.
yeah, that takes your 10 points away,
I was wondering.
and now you are with 0 points.
Okay, so
Good
this might
God.
be for more senior folk here, but anyway, interested to know. Over 40 years ago, some senior British politicians from both sides of the aisle came to the conclusion that the two-party system was archaic and not working. They took the decision to form a third party, which today is still going, and while it has not yet led the country, it's come very close to it. And it has had a huge influence on how things have been done politically in the United Kingdom, not to mention peace in Northern Ireland. Now is that time for America. Would you support politicians who said they would stand with a third party? And the question is not why it wouldn't work and all that stuff, tactical voting and funding. It's just basically if those questions were answered, would you support it? And I am not prepared to take questions from someone who has boiled eggs on top of his salad. It is disgusting.
He's at the far end of the
Excuse
table.
me?
Disgusting.
Boiled
eggs
eggs
are
are
great.
disgusting.
It is
Have we eaten
cold
boiled
eggs
eggs?
sliced on your
Same.
salad is a disgusting heathen thing to do,
He
Lewis.
just
Only
doesn't like
British
the
people
smell
would
of
say that.
Eggs. That's all.
So Donald Trump has sworn to start a third party ever since he got out of the out of
Can he do
office.
that today?
It's never going to happen.
He could. Well, the question isn't whether or not it could happen. The question is whether or not you would support a candidate who starts a third party. And my answer to that is not without knowing what the third party stands for. Like,
Exactly.
third party by itself is meaningless if they are talking about the same stupid shit that, well, quite
The-
honestly,
one of
both
the two
parties.
major parties.
Yeah, yeah.
Hold on, but I mean, we do have another party here. We have a Green Party. We have Independent, right? I mean,
And libertarians.
Well, and basically Trump tied into whatever the zeitgeist was that Ross Perot tapped into. I mean, his party, and he almost created a third party. I mean, we probably would have one had he handed the mantle over to somebody else when he ran again.
Well, Ross Perot started the Reform Party, right? It was the Reform Party.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what the name was, but I think you're right.
Yeah, and that was in 1996. Before that, in 92, I think he ran as independent. He got so many votes the second time he ran in 1996 that he basically gave Bill Clinton the win. And it was important back then because it really determined the outcome of the elections. I feel like I cannot support a third party today. Why? Because we are now in a situation where democracy is, the very concept of democracy is under existential threat. And I know Andrew Yang started a party called Forward, which I agree with. The foundation of this concept, the Forward Party, everything that he stands for, I agree with. But all that it's going to do right now, in this moment in history, is going to give the victory to the other side, and the other side is completely radicalized. And it's really posing a major, major threat to the concept of the United States of America. At this point in history, I'm not supporting any other option because it is going to take siphon votes away from the much lesser of two evils. So maybe in the future I would. Germany has 5 major parties and about 20 smaller parties. And
What sort of voting system do they have?
well,
Is it first
only
past
we
the
have the
post, or
electoral
do they
college.
have
Not
Uh,
electoral
yeah,
college.
Only
that's-
we have the electoral. Then Bulgaria, in Bulgaria, we have about 20 parties, and we have some really progressive, emerging political forces in the last few elections. Like, for example, there's one party in Bulgaria called Yes Bulgaria, which is kind of a funny name. But those are good parties. But what happens when the vote is divided between 20 parties is very interesting, and it could be a great lesson for us. You know what happens? So let's say the vote is divided between 7 parties. They start doing behind the curtain negotiations with each other to form a coalition in the parliament. And basically, once they are elected in the parliament, they form a coalition, and you still get divided in 2 parties. Because all these smaller fractions, smaller parties get together, they got united in one party, and yet again, in the parliament, you have 2 forces against each other. So no matter what you do, it always seems like it ends up divided, the power in 2. I am very, very worried about having a third progressive party in the United States right now. I don't agree with it. I don't want it because I think America is under threat.
Kathleen.
I think I agree with that to a certain extent, because as long as we have first past the post voting, in other words, whoever gets one more vote than the others is going to win. Instead of a proportional voting system or single transferable vote, for example, where your candidate loses, your next choice starts counting. There's
Yeah, the ranked
various
choice.
Yeah.
proportional systems. When that comes in, then multiple parties start working.
Yeah.
That's important. That's an important first step, because
Yeah.
you're right. If you start splitting the vote like that, the extra party just messes up whichever one it agrees with most,
Yeah.
because it's dividing that vote.
Super against a third party, but insisting that it be progressive. Because honestly, I feel like at this point there really is a third party, just because of the simple fact. I mean, the voter registration rolls and how many Republicans dropped off the rolls. I don't know why the third party has to be progressive. It could very easily be Republican. And traditional Republican, like what we were used to, because I do feel like they have no home right now. If you are not a crazy racist and don't want to be a part of the Trump cult, and I'm fine with them splitting their vote. Go ahead, split it all you want.
Yeah.
Would you like the Republican Party then to hive off a Trump party and take all the total crazies?
Yeah, them
keep-
crazy
Yeah, like-
assholes can go
That's cool.
somewhere. Listen, I will buy the
Yeah.
island for them, and they can go rule down there and
Yeah.
have a great time.
One of those that sinks really fast.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was what the Reform Party was.
Yeah,
That
and the
was-
Tea Party was
There was
the
a conservative
Oh, yeah?
force.
Oh, I remember the
behind-
Reform Party.
behind the
Yep.
billionaire Ross Perot, and that
I remember him.
took away votes from the Republicans in the elections where Bob Dole ran against Bill Clinton.
Julian,
Yeah.
don't disappear because I was just going to
but
But that's what I think where Trump voters came from. I mean, they were part of the Reform Party. They were part of the Tea Party. I mean, my grandfather was a huge Perot fan during both of his runs, and I have a couple of uncles who are kind of solidly in the Trump campaign, and they were that's where that drew from. And for me, the problem isn't necessarily the party, the third party or fourth party or fifth party. It's the parties themselves. It's people who think that they have to be in these ideological tribes to do anything in the country, as opposed to just looking at the issues and voting for solutions for things like homelessness and crime and dealing with other nations around the world. You don't need politics to do any of that. There's simple, obvious solutions out there that we should be, discussing, not the fact that, oh, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're a Green, you're a commie, you're a socialist, you're this, that, and the other thing.
yeah,
And that's why the three branches of our government don't work the way the founders intended, is that, there was supposed to be a check on that. If one of the branches went AWOL, the other two said, hey, F you, we're going to move in and not allow you to do that.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt here? We've got to have some sort of regulation on the use of the ketchup bottle near the microphones.
Yes, please.
It sounds like a third party.
Very
But I do not oppose, like Meredith said, I would not oppose a third conservative force to siphon votes away from the Republicans. The problem is the Republican Party has become completely appropriated by Donald J. Trump. It is Donald J. Trump's personality cult. That's what the Republican Party has been reduced to. Once proud conservative force is nothing more than a personality cult to an idiot.
No, I'm
They're
going
not
to ask-
Republicans
I'm going to
anymore.
ask-
That's not even republicanism, in my opinion. It's,
I'm going to ask our youngsters to come up with serious answers. So, Julian, what do you think?
Not to get like too political, but I do like apple juice more than orange juice.
Is
Like,
there a
that's
third
just a
choice?
statement.
Third choice.
I mean, okay. I think grape juice could be pretty good. I don't personally like it, but it's
I
an
don't like
okay
grape
drink.
juice.
I
No.
believe
Like cranberry juice though. Cranberry juice is pretty good, but I've
Same.
never been like I really want cranberry juice.
I believe you expressed your opinion about third party with the ketchup bottle like 2 minutes ago.
Yes. Okay.
Third party could be good.
And Cassidy.
It could be good. And I feel like what my mom said is correct.
So you're agreeing
Right.
with your
So you
mom?
definitely get to go shopping tomorrow.
Fernando.
I said some favoritism.
Yeah, you. Down the other end.
Well, I think we should have like more options and even like things are and it's there is so many other like Kathleen put good points about depend of the how be the voting system if you have a third option. There is so many considerations, but definitely more options make not this two yes or no. That's definitely I think you should have more players, more parties. And I agree with Ivo too. Like the moment you back in the day, I was more independent. But it's rough. Like at this time, like I don't take my vote away, even though my vote doesn't count here, at least presidential, because I think the state of Kansas didn't put
Yeah.
any right. Like it's kind of pathetic to
Sucks.
electoral college. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
every vote counts.
Not in presidential.
Not for
election.
president.
It counted when we shut down that whole abortion thing.
Correct.
Doesn't count if I vote.
No, absolutely. I don't miss that. But
I mean, it's that kind of thinking, though, that leads to people who don't vote because they think my vote doesn't count because this state's always going to lean this.
yeah.
If all those people, because remember, 1/3 of the eligible voters in the last election did not vote at all. If they
Yep.
actually stood up and actually voted, it would be
Would
a
have to
different
make a
world
difference.
altogether. And it's that mentality.
I
of, well,
agree.
my vote doesn't count because da-da-da-da.
But I don't miss my vote. Just
I'm going to come to Lewis, but I would like to just say one thing. I know a lady who's now very, very old, very special lady. Her name
Like
is
older than you?
Yeah, a lot older than me. Her name is Nan. And Nan managed to escape from a concentration camp during the war. She then went and worked with Polish underground and eventually ended up marrying a British soldier. She says to people, she will take hold of their wrist and she will say with the remains of a Polish accent, I want you to vote for us, but I don't really mind if you don't. And then she squeezes, as long as you do vote. Because I saw my parents walked off to be murdered. It is terribly important that those people who can do. Lewis, have you finished the eggs yet?
No, not quite. I've been saving them in a pile just to make you watch me eat them. I'm gonna. I go along with what Kath said. Like as far as the way the system is set up right now, our government is set up for a two-party system. We would have to have some fundamental changes in the way voting and elections are held. That all being said, I stick by my original point that I'm not going to transfer my vote to a third party just because they're not one of the two parties. That is exactly how Trump positioned himself to win the Republican nomination. He said all the time, I'm different than those other guys. Like, that mentality by itself is a dangerous sentiment to base who you would be willing to vote on. If you have the ability to vote for a third party that stands for what you believe, then vote for the party that stands for what you believe. Right now, we don't have that option. And I don't necessarily think that a third party, one way or the other, Republican or Democrat, is going to give us that. So,
what about Forward?
What do you mean?
Are you familiar with the platform of Forward?
Yes.
The party?
Yes. And if Forward could muster enough assets and support to be supported by the current election system, then it becomes reasonable to vote for them. But right now, it's not a possibility one way or the other.
They will be on the ballot, and Andrew Yang will be on the ballot next presidential election.
Yeah.
Would you vote for him knowing that basically you're voting for Trump?
For the exact reason that you said, no, I wouldn't for this upcoming election, because I know that our system is rigged, like, to borrow one of Trump's phrases, it's rigged to keep these two parties in power.
Much more important to change the voting system.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
But where I'm going is, if we change the voting system, if we could.
Let's
and
suppose
then,
that happens tomorrow.
Yeah, and we had the difference between what we've discussed. I wondered if it would go that way. And what happened in the UK was that these were mainstream politicians. They were names that people recognized as being Senator so-and-so who they knew. You know, so they were, you might say, middle of the road senators and congressmen. That there were enough of them to be taken seriously. Would you jump and take a big deep breath and vote for that party, whatever it's called, if there were a bunch of senators that you recognise as being the real thing, that they'd put their political career on the line?
If I thought that party had the option, had the opportunity, had the ability to excel in things like being invited to the debates, for instance, then maybe. But right now, the way the system is set up, not just the political rules, but the media rules don't recognize these third parties. Like, they are at an inherent disadvantage from a regulatory standpoint, and then they get the ancillary disadvantages that just wipes them out as parties. So if we fix all that, it's a different question. I go back to my original answer. I am willing to vote for whatever party most supports the platforms that I'm interested in, but we're not there yet.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Points?
Before we continue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Two things we need to point out. First of all, for our listener, Louis, while we were talking, was served a salad that defies logic. It was basically the kind of salad that you can only conquer if you set up a base camp at the bottom of the salad and you need help. It was freaking mountain of a salad. You mentioned the boiled
Y'all
egg.
some rookie salad eaters out here, because that is a good-looking salad.
No, that
It
was
looks amazing.
an incredible,
Green
massive, biggest salad I've ever seen. Then, one of my favorite people, Lewis's son, Jullian, who's wearing a beige jacket with secret pockets in it, was served what appears to be a Coca-Cola, or maybe Dr. Pepper, I don't know, and with a straw. And then he reached into one of his secret pockets and pulled out 8 additional straws.
Actually, with 7.
He dunked those 7 straws into and in a true sign of political pluralism, he used all 8 freaking straws to consume this Coca-Cola. This is freaking incredible stuff happening behind the scenes here at
We
this
are
podcast.
all in all.
And so the
Absolutely.
points, I'm giving Julian 10 points.
Okay, see, this system is definitely weighted.
Favoritism.
This
For
is
his
weighted.
analogy, no. 10 points
system
for
is
his
rigged.
analogy of the fruit drinks.
Analogy.
Yeah.
I was just talking about how I like
and
apples.
and then a further 5 for the use of straws for the second analogy.
What? No, my
Yes.
God.
And then Lewis
This is literally unfair. This is
again,
favoritism.
0 points.
0 points for the longest and most boring answer that
I vote
All
that
right,
we have a new
so-
referee next time we do points. That's all I'm
I
saying.
think
I
Jeremy
wanna
needs
recount.
to be fired. Oh my god.
So I want to
This is
point out
Flag on the play. Flag on the play.
to point out one more
It's
thing.
rigged.
It apparently has become a contest only between Lewis and Julian.
It's
No,
not.
nobody
That
else
is-
exists.
That is a vulgar, Bulgarian
Lewis, if it makes you feel better, I think he stole the election.
Yes, bro.
And also, I want to point out something else. Jeremy Taylor and his inspiring story about the Polish concentration camp survivor. I want to point out something. We pretend like this American society is all inclusive, all so nice, so tolerant and accepting, and yet we come up with a product called Polish remover.
Oh,
If Nan was here,
You guys are really here for the
Nan was here
corn
now.
dogs
She would.
It's fantastic, is what it
She
is.
No,
isn't-
no,
if
it's not.
Nan was here now, and there are people who may well tell Nan about this podcast, so she could well hear it. She would slap you about a bit. Our typical podcast crew is made up of folk ranging in age from their teens to their 60s. What is the most important lesson that has been passed on to you by your parents? Cassidy.
Oh no. So.
It's
my
nearly time for another Bulgarian laugh. Thank you, Count.
Okay, so me personally, my mom always told me, to
Is that
be
it?
to. Okay, to be 2 times it's better as the other person, and I am now very competitive. So.
Okay, so I think we need to give a little context to that. And I think that Lewis, you will relate. The reason that I tell her that she has to be twice as good as the next person is because, as we've established, we are people of color, and in order to get a foot in the door, we have to work harder, and we have to prove that we are twice as good as the person standing next to us. So, I don't know that it was advice so much as this is what you have to do to survive. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Meredith, what did your parents, if any, pass down to you? If any advice?
My mom gave a ton of advice, but ironically enough, it's actually not from my parents. The best advice I ever received was from my uncle, so we'll count him.
Okay.
He's my patriarch there. He said to me when I was younger, it took me a long time to understand it, but he said to me that in every situation you have a part, and what was your part?
Right.
And it's just like every time I think that self-awareness is incredibly important. And as we all know, I have a tendency to lead with my emotions a lot. But it's that check on myself that always makes me sit back and be like, okay, all right, what did I do to get the situation here to where it is? And how can I be a part of getting the situation to the next step? So.
Okay, what's your part? What's your part in it? Fernando. Sorry, he's asleep. Hello. Are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good, cool.
That's a hard question. Like we
Well, I
learn.
haven't had a go at you for months. You know, it's sort of.
He said it's a good question about.
It's a hard.
Oh.
It's a hard question. Like, but I'm positive there is a lot of stuff, and even more positive, there was so many things we learned that we don't give credit to them at the time. Like the parents, and that's. Am I on the right question? People are looking weird to me.
No.
It's the two-part
It's hard to see that, but there is like even I think from like professionalism to be punctual, but at the end I don't know. It's hard being like when I am now like being a parent. It's hard to see like how much they really contributed or not, if that makes sense. Like it's almost sounds like we have some essence that's disregarding what's the parenting lesson, how we would take. Like it's just you guys gotta stop to those kind of very philosophical questions and go more like Kanye West and
I know, right?
Alex
I so wanted to talk
Jones
about
and-
Ye this week.
83.
So we're going to come to Julian. I'm wanting to remind Julian that you are currently in the lead with 35 points. So I hope you don't mess this up. What useful,
So,
what most important lesson?
one of my first serious answers. My best advice ever was from my history teacher that I've used in every day because I do a lot of arguing. But it's don't argue to win, it's argue to learn. Even though I do argue to win, now I think about what the other people are saying instead of just throwing it backwards.
Okay, so I'm going to give Lewis a chance to come back here. What was the most important lesson that has been passed on to you by your parents?
So the lesson that I got from my parents was not a direct lesson. It was by sort of reverse implication. It is be true to who you are. And I got that lesson because my mom is one of those people that is always worried about what the neighbors think or what the extended family will think about whatever the situation is. And my dad, he actually talked a lot about being true to yourself, but I don't think he ever really got, before he died, to the point where he understood like what that meant for him. He always presented himself in the with the portrait of what his dad thought of him. And so for me, it has been probably the single most important thing in my life to try to learn who I am so that I can be true to that person. It's not something that I'm really yet good at, but it's probably the most important thing for me.
Okay. Meredith, you spoke on behalf of your daughter. What about yourself?
Oh no. That was mine was my uncle's advice to me. But yeah, no, actually, ironically enough, what you said actually echoes very much with me. My mother was a pageant director and stuff when I was a kid, and so let's just say there was a lot of emphasis on physical appearance. I modeled and did all that kind of stuff when I was a kid, and it became very evident to me, like once I became more, into my later teens and free-thinking person, that I am going to be very true to me, and I could give a damn what the neighbors think.
Kathleen.
Right. Okay. I should have learned a lot more lessons from my mother because she is a very wise old owl. And she has tolerance for everybody and figures that nearly everybody's doing the best they can to make the world better. My father, however, had a much more sticking lesson when I was, 10 or so, and I had brothers of 8 and 7, and we were playing a card game, one of the simple ones, have you got any so-and-so fours or something like fish? I don't know what it was, but Dad was playing with us, which he didn't do very often. And one of my brothers said no, he didn't have any of those, when he just accidentally showed his whole hand to me. Not to me. Somebody else asked him for some fours or something, and he said, no, I don't have any. And I, thinking he just made a mistake, I said, yes, you do. And he looked very sheepish, and my father was furious and threw his hand down and said, if you're going to cheat at a game, there's no use playing, and left the game. It spoiled the whole game. And that taught us, that did it.
I think that's a little bit wrong, because if you're going to cheat at a game, at least win and don't get caught.
Not when you're like 7 years old,
You can't cheat life, kid. It was a life lesson is what she's talking about.
No.
Make the game great again.
I don't...
Ivo, I'm fascinated to know how you answer this question.
Well,
what is the most important life lesson that has been passed on to you by your parents?
yeah, well, we've talked about my dad a lot, so he very early on made it very obvious to me that he wants me to be well-rounded, and he, his advice, because he's such a Renaissance man, he does so many things, and he's a nuclear physicist and a biomechanics professor and a chancellor and an athlete and a stuntman, and he does all these things, and he always tried to emphasize how important it is to be good not just at one thing, but to try to constantly improve yourself and learn about stuff. I read recently a brilliant book by David Epstein called Range. David Epstein is a brilliant journalist, and his 2 books so far are both bestsellers. And Range is all about this. being proficient at one thing and being really good at one thing, or being well-rounded and knowing a lot about things, a lot of things. And his conclusion, based on a lot of research, is that it is more beneficial in today's world, in the 21st century, to not be just narrow-minded, but to be good at many things. And that's a lesson that I learned from my father. And thanks to this lesson today, I'm equally horrible at many things, not just one thing.
A jack of all trades.
And you can't write. You have to use a typewriter.
Yes, I have to be bad at a lot of stuff.
Chris.
A lot like Lewis, this question prompted me back to things that my parents didn't instill in me, because my parents weren't racist. They never used a racist swear in my presence. We had a diverse people over to our house for dinner throughout my life.
Did your mom use polish remover?
Swear to God, Ivo.
No, she used-
Cheesy. You're killing me, dude.
I don't think I ever saw my mom remove any Polish at all. So, I mean, and we went to dinner at other people's houses. And even though I grew up in a racist society and I learned racist things, they were a nice bulwark that I really didn't notice until college years. And when I really, finally confronted the racism that was instilled in me, just living in this culture, that I realized that their just quiet example was a wonderful thing for me.
What about you, Jeremy?
What?
Have you learned any life lessons from your parents?
Yes, I think one
Or
bit of
Churchill.
advice that goes round and round and round in my head, which my boys have taken on when they're off leaving or going to a party or something, and that is this: it is better to be late in this life than early in the next. And points, you'll be interested to know what the points
God.
are. Julian, in fact, has lost 15 points.
Well, wait,
and
wait,
Lewis-
What was
wait,
his
wait, wait,
answer?
wait. I want
My
to point
answer-
out.
my
I want to
answer-
point out
His
something
history
before you say
teacher
something.
and arguing.
The question was, what was the great
Important.
lesson you learned from your parents? To which you answered, I learned from my history teacher.
Look, look. Meredith said her uncle. So
At least my uncle is my mama's brother. You a history teacher, dude.
And your father is sitting right next to you.
So
Does
you
Lewis teach
lost
history or
15
something?
points there, and in fact, Lewis gained 10 points
Oh.
for giving a true and useful answer to the question.
Well,
so
where's
we're
my points?
one podcast. We will now move on to our
To
last
rule them all.
question. Has anything has anything annoyed you or brought you great joy recently, Ivo? Has anything annoyed you or brought you great joy
How about
recently?
just about 10 seconds ago?
Right?
Yeah. Has anything annoyed me? This is like every day something annoys me.
Yes, that's
And-
what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that made you go poo bums.
Great
Sorry,
joy.
made you go, what? What was that again?
Poo bums. It's
Is that a
what you
British
say when you're
thing?
a very angry English person.
And
You
6
say
years
poo
old.
bums?
Poo bums, yes.
He does. Don't look at me and say I say it.
That's why
I
his
did not
spirit
say that.
animal is Winnie the Pooh. He likes the poo bums.
Poo bums, yes.
Y'all
So-
stop it. Don't feed into that.
Yeah. So as you know, I'm coaching a high school soccer team, and we've had a kind of a good season, mostly up and a little bit less down, and we've been winning. And yesterday, we beat the best team in the region, and it wasn't a fluke. We should have even beaten them more soundly, and it was a very inspiring performance by my team. They're peaking at the right time. They believe in themselves suddenly, and they believe they can beat anyone after we beat that team, to which I say, poo bum!
Stop it. Stop it. No.
Yes. Lewis, very important here. Want to see what we get in points. You know, let's go.
So, for me, it's been something that brings me a lot of joy, and that is having the boy here on the podcast. That is
Even with the straws?
even with the straws.
Okay.
Because
It's
like
9 now.
at home, he's a funny and charming kid and always has something interesting to say. And it's
Why don't you
neat.
bring that kid?
Yeah,
I know,
I'm
right?
saying, how do we get this one?
It's
That
neat
kid plays
to
the
me.
guitar or the banjo or the
Yeah,
ukulele and
no,
sings and
like having
performs.
Julian here and just hearing him put together some ideas, especially the ones that like where he and I agree on something. Even before I start talking about it, it makes me a proud papa. So I'm actually really glad to have the boy here.
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Pooh Bum. You know, he's got. You talking about piano and guitar and banjo. This kid, it takes him 2 draws to suck down a 24-ounce of Coca-Cola with these 7 straws.
Can we stop
And I'm
pretending like
thinking-
what he's doing is an
Yeah.
accomplishment?
And what it is, because the great pan flute performance Zamfir needs an apprentice, and this is an incredible skill to have, and I think you could be an incredible pan flute player.
Julian, you were a lot cuter when I
Musician.
first met you when you were 2, okay?
Yeah. So Julian, let's before Julian pronounces on what has annoyed him or brought him great joy, he isn't in fact as clever as he thinks he is.
I'm not, but
He has
okay,
been
I'm
losing
gonna,
straws.
Can I do one of? Can I
He's
do one
been-
of both?
Shh. He's been losing straws
When you're not looking,
to Kathleen.
Kathleen is
For the
stealing
last
your
hour.
straws. You put them in the pocket next to Kathleen. She takes
She
a
has been
straw
taking
every
your
once in a while.
straws away from you over the last
Quite
hour.
fun, actually.
So, Julian, having,
Right.
Way to
having
call
been
her
bought-
out there, Jeremy.
Yeah,
God.
having been bought down a peg or 3.
Can I do one of both?
Well, you look embarrassed. You are in fact
Can
blushing.
I do one of both?
One of both.
Great joy and great.
Oh, great joy! Yes, yeah.
So,
you're not going to get
one
extra
thing that annoys
points.
me is I don't really care. Ivo, you said somebody and somebody else did a thing, right?
What?
For the first question, it was you, Emil, and somebody else, right?
We traveled to Santa Cruz and witnessed the banana
But
slugs.
like, who was it?
It was Emil, Jamie, and myself.
Yeah, but my what I'm annoyed about is that when you said it was me, or you said it was me, Jamie, and Emil. When the proper grammar would be, it was
knew that's where he
Jamie,
was going
Emil,
with
and
this.
I.
You, I think you hate. I think you hate Polish
are
This
people.
is so your son. He is so,
I-
your
I
son.
am.
Thanks, Julian. That's a good
Right,
one.
what has made me happy is the fact that I have collected like this many straws.
Bro, you're killing the planet.
Yeah,
How
bro.
can you be? Okay.
Okay, so Fernando,
What?
has anything annoyed you or brought you great joy recently?
Oh.
Me.
Not you.
No, you're supposed to say I.
Gosh, I mean, of course, family stuff and the kids every time, receive, a written card. But tell you what, guys, I mean, for my life is like this podcast, just sit on a table and have all this joy. Like that's a big thing, and we do that weekly.
Everybody.
It's good stuff.
Pooh-Bah!
Pooh Bums to
Swear.
you.
Swear. Stop it.
Do I get any points? Jeremy, do I get any points on that?
No, not for that. No.
Gosh, I'm trying.
Meredith,
I didn't do it. I
has
swear.
anything annoyed you
Um,
apart from Cassidy?
I,
Or
I
brought
was
you
going to
great
say,
joy recently, apart
what
from Cassidy?
parameters are we putting on this question here? So anything annoyed me or brought me great joy? Oh, you guys are going to be so annoyed. Okay. Totally just had the best work trip ever. Great joy.
Oh, not this again.
Bro, I don't care. You see Magic Johnson and you go to a party with DJ Jazzy Jeff and then talk to me, okay? Shout out Five Below. Love you guys.
Okay then.
And annoyed me her.
Cassidy,
Okay,
has
okay.
anything, try and keep this serious, has anything annoyed you or brought you great joy recently?
Okay, so yesterday it was actually really fun in my French class because I speak French.
I don't know about you speaking
Pardon?
French, but like you're in a class.
Okay.
Sure.
So my friend was like, "Hey, do you all want this orange?" To me, my other friend, and so I peel this orange because like he's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna split it, but you have to peel the orange." So I peel the orange, and it's like really slimy, and then I give it to my friend, and I'm like, "You can have it," and I go away and I throw away the orange peels, right? And in the meantime, he's throwing the orange at my coat.
Oh.
Wait, your white Calvin Klein coat that you left for school in today?
Oh.
What is
Anyway,
this child's name?
So
Just give the
We
last name.
it was really funny for me, and I personally enjoyed the humor.
Is he buying you a new coat?
It was really.
At least a
funny.
dry cleaning bill.
And Julian annoys me. Wait, what'd you say?
This is why I eat my oranges with the
guys,
peel.
guys,
that really?
we've got someone actually put this together. Chris.
I'm gonna have to go back to golf again because I had the final competition round on Monday, and as usual, I was annoyed and joyful all day long.
Your golf.
Well, I go from one hole, which was I would go from one hole, which was I didn't swing very well at all and scored very terribly, and then on the very next hole, I would swing beautifully and score like what I wanted to do, and then the next hole would be, oh, dang it, why did I do that? And then the hole after that was like, oh man, that was a great shot.
You really,
It's up
really
and
love
down,
golf,
up and
don't
down.
you?
Kathleen.
It's the joy and pain of golf.
Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Anderson.
Something that annoyed me recently was that my dear mother-in-law got the Kofifi, but the good news is that she has been allowed to take Paxlovid. So although she is 93 million years old, she is going to be here to annoy us for at least another 7 or 8 years.
I heard on Joe Rogan that ivermectin works pretty good.
Don't. Please. That is misinformation. Public service announcement.
Diesel.
Yeah, you got to inject disinfectant. That's the only thing that works.
Again.
Now, there we are, ladies. You've been listening to, in fact, another somewhat shorter Wednesday night undressed. You might want to know what the points are. Julian in the lead, actually, but because he was a grammar Nazi, lost 15 points. And Lewis, of course, because he gave such a glowing testimony. It was all lies, but he gave a glowing testimony about his son. Lewis gained another extra 10 points, which takes him to 20 points. But because of the grammar Nazi, he had been way ahead, but he is now down to 5 points. So, in fact, Lewis wins the most points.
Yes.
What about the other people?
They don't
Nobody cares about you.
They
We
don't
weren't
matter.
doing points.
We are Polish. and,
Enough,
you know.
kids.
Whoever comes in
I
second
want
is
to
only the
thank-
first loser.
I want to thank everybody for coming. Julian, Fernando, Meredith, Cassidy, Kathleen, Chris, Lewis, Ivo, and our live audience. You've been listening to yet another Wednesday night. And don't forget that you can pick up these on YouTube, Facebook, and things like that.
Wow.